Welcome back to the No Bonds Podcast. I'm Ben Beck. I'm here with Matt Maurizio from Beck Bodie. Find us at beckbodie.com or on Instagram at the @BeckBodie handle, as well as our podcasts and quick tips on iTunes and Spotify. One thing before we get started today, I wanted to talk a moment about a question we get often is, what do we read, or what do we consider some of the most educational books out there in the financial world? There's a lot of financial books out there. The most impactful that we consider in terms of what we feel every investor or potential investor should read is a book called Dancing with the Analyst by David Malik. And what we're going to do as a firm is, for the first 10 listeners or viewers that email us, and they can email us at social@beckbodie.com or send a direct message. So it's called a direct message, DM, a DM on Instagram.
Slide up into your DMs, our DMs.
We'll send a free copy to you of Dancing with the Analysts. And more than anything else, it represents exactly what we as a firm feel, really what we're in existence for, is to provide clarity to individuals with respect to the financial decisions they have to make in their lives.
Yeah, I can tell you that this book right here literally played probably the biggest role into why I became a financial advisor, why I joined us. It's not a finance textbook, it's a story, so it's easy to follow. But when I finished it, I felt like, wow, I know a whole lot more about the investing world than I thought, than I did going into it. And I didn't know I was learning it until the book was over. So I highly recommend it if you're just looking for general education on how the investing world works.
And there's a lot of books out there, right? And there's a lot of great books out there,
Yeah.
but some read, which is not necessarily a bad thing for some people, as economic textbooks.
Yeah.
And there's others that are a little bit easier of a read in terms of helping folks understand the concepts of finance, and in particular, what some smart things they can do with their money, and what scenarios they might be faced with either now or later in life, and how to deal with those. And that's a big reason for, again, our existence and this podcast is to bring that information to light in a very, hopefully, simple manner to help folks make the decisions that they need to make.
Yeah, we just want to provide some clarity to the investing world to just help you make more educated decisions. So anyway, before we begin the podcast, I'm going to remind you, you said my name wrong again.
Oh, Maurice. I'm sorry. Maurizio.
Perfect.
Maurizio. Not Maurizio. I don't know. I'm trying to give it that Italian flair. Mauricio.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, fine. I like it. If you use your hands when you do it, when you say it, then that's fine.
Okay.
I like your new headset, by the way.
I like them as well.
It looks good.
I like them as well.
We can be a Goose and Mav combo.
Negative Ghost Rider. Oh my God, I messed up. Negative Ghost Rider. The pattern is full. Yeah.
All right. So, a topic today I wanted us to talk about is, there's a bunch of different scenarios, but somebody comes into a whole bunch of money that they didn't have the day before, and now they're faced with the decision of what do I do with it. There are scenarios that we deal with. Specifically, I'll work with an athlete that doesn't have money and then signs a contract, or signs a long-term deals. An entrepreneur working hard in their business for a decade and sells it, and now a bunch of money comes in. But there's other scenarios like, I sold my house and I didn't plan on buying a second. That was my second home, but now I get a lot of money. What do I do with it?
So there's a term that in our industry that classifies those type of events, liquidity events.
Yeah, liquidity events is where you have a bunch of liquid cash all of a sudden that you need to do something with, and you're faced with that decision of, wow, I guess I don't know really what to do with this investing or this money now. I got to figure this out. It could be a family member gives you inheritance, or we were talking about this before we started. When people retire, it's almost like a liquidity event for them, because that 401k is some mythical thing that they're just pumping money into for 30 years until that retirement date happens, and all of a sudden that 401k is now their income. It's no longer their retirement plan. It's now their life.
And it's a decision.
Yeah.
Right? Because along those 30 years, for example, look, the 401ks, almost every company has some sort of retirement plan out there for the most part, if it's a company of any size whatsoever. And I think it almost kind of happens for some folks over a long period of time as automatic. I'm just dumping money. Money's coming out of my paycheck automatically into this account. The investments are going up and down over time, but most people aren't really taking a real or having a keen understanding of how the money is invested and so on. Now, flash forward to retiring, as you said, 30 years down the road, all of a sudden accumulated a whole bunch of money in the 401k. Now, nothing's really changed, right? Because the money's at the same amount or hopefully a little bit more than it was a couple years ago. But for a lot of folks retiring now they're faced with making a decision on that money. For 30 years, the decision was defer money out of my paycheck, it goes into these funds, and hopefully it grows. Mm-hmm. But now you retire, and all of a sudden you have to make a decision. And you're absolutely right. I think it's exactly, for a lot of folks, the same thing as if a business owner sells a business, and all of a sudden, different from yesterday, now today you have X amount of dollars sitting in your account. You have to make a decision on that. Yep. One of your professional athlete clients gets a signing bonus to go play baseball. Yep. And all of a sudden, they had $13 in their account yesterday, and now they have $1.3 million in their account today. A decision has to be made. And not so much even on investing, per se. That's just one, but taxes. Mm-hmm. And even simple questions like, okay, if and when I do make a decision on what to do with that money, how does the whole tax thing work? How, if I need money, how do I take money out of the account? A whole bunch of decisions people have to make, which I think there's a little complexity with, or a little uncertainty with. Yeah.
You know what's hard about that I found, especially in conversations with a bunch of people about our industry, and that I know firsthand, is that you don't really know that you've made a less than average or a poor decision until 5 or 10 years go by.
Right.
Because our industry preaches long-term, rightfully so. Mm-hmm. But with that, people don't even know what's going on for a decade until they look.
Right.
And then they'll look and say, well, I only earned like 1% on average per year for the last 10 years. That's probably not really good.
So it pays to be educated, obviously, right? Because that's not exclusive to the investment or finance industry. You start going today to a healthy diet from a poor diet, you don't get instant results.
Right.
You don't know the effects of that until a little bit further down the road. The hard work you put into the gym. You don't all of a sudden wake up the next morning with muscles like you. You have to. Yeah, exactly. That's a brand new jacket, by the way. I had to get a bigger size. That takes time. So there's a little bit of, call it faith, involved in terms of a little bit of a belief in the unseen, so to speak, in terms of, okay, I certainly there's pressure to make the right decision, but to your point, you don't know exactly whether it was the right decision or wrong decision until, in some cases, particularly the investment world, be it investing in stocks or mutual funds, investing in real estate, investing in insurance, what have you, you don't know the outcome until it's the outcome. And that outcome is sometimes years down the road. So there's a lot of room in there for education.
Yeah, and I will say we won't go down the road of how to find. In our second episode of this podcast, we covered how to find a financial advisor if that's the road you choose. So I encourage you to check that out. Mm-hmm. But let's help people understand maybe what not to do. It's hard to paint with a broad brush in this industry because, like I would say, aligning it with working out, your goals really dictate your workout technique and your approach.
Correct.
So if you're an ultra marathoner, you're training very differently than a power lifter.
Right.
And if your goals are in the same way investing, your goals really your investing strategy will be reflective of what that goal is.
So safe to say, step one, define your objective.
Yeah. So step one, define your objective with that money.
Simple as that sounds, it's easy to say, really difficult.
Yeah.
When you or can be really difficult if all of a sudden today you're faced with, oh my God, I got a lot more money in my bank account, or I've retired and now I have to make a decision on my 401k, or I just sold my business. But that only plausible first step is defining what the goal is, as you said, what the objective is.
I'm really glad you said that. I mean, I'll give you a real life example. Talking with somebody that inherited millions of dollars just going into college, just recently, and the thought was, okay, I've got like $4 million. I'm going to be a 19-year-old freshman in college because a family member had died. Well, I mean, I'm good, right? What do I need to do? And then that really, you have to think hard about that goal with that money, because yes, if that money is just invested very average and conservatively, that 18-year-old, 19-year-old with $4 million to start at a head start can probably just be fine in life. If that goal is to just coast, then fine, that investment strategy can reflect a coast life. If the goal is, and I'm going to say conservatively, let's say that money can double every decade. If it starts at $4 million, like it was, it's $4 million, and then in 10 years, at 28, it's $8 million, and at 38, it's $16 million, and at 48, it's $32 million. That's a lot more money that you can really make a dramatic change in somebody's life, an organization's life, a passion project's mission, if you so choose. But you need to really at least define a goal to start. Those goals can change, but there's got to be something in place to start.
Most important thing we talk about all the time, and it really doesn't have anything to do with the type of investment. It has everything to do with runway. It has everything to do with defining that objective, and that objective, of course, for anybody from that day is years down the road. And the more years down the road that you have in terms of having to achieve that objective, that longer runway, I think that's directly correlated to the probability of success.
I agree.
And I'll tell a quick story related to yours in terms of a number of retirees during the 2008 and 2009 time period where faced with the decision of retiring, or a business owner that I'm thinking of as well that sold a business around that time, but because of the state of the markets, real estate markets, financial markets overall, it was thought of as a really, really difficult time to invest. So what did these individuals do? They kept their money in money market or CDs at banks, federally insured type of investments, which to most folks would seem the plausible thing to do when it comes to turning on the TV at that same time period and seeing that the Dow Jones is down 800 points or the real estate market in particular areas is down 20 or 25%. Who in the world in their right mind would want to be faced with a decision to take the bulk of their money, the bulk of their lifetime savings, and make a decision to invest that money in that time? Now, we all know it's very easy to say at this point, to say, well, the best times to invest are the times, as Warren Buffett says, when everybody is sprinting away from the situation. That's typically the time to invest, when there's blood on the street. Other top finance people had said it's usually when everybody's afraid, that's usually the time to invest. Easy to say, very difficult for a lot of folks to do. But the downside to making, it's effectively not making a decision. That's what we see a lot of in terms of folks that get faced with these liquidity events and they have not defined their long-term objective. And so where does the money go? The money goes into a money market or CD at typically a very low rate of interest, although federally insured, but a low rate of interest. And at the end of the day, it's safe, so to speak, in terms of not losing any money. But as we talked about in a previous podcast or a previous short video, every moment that money goes, that time goes by, the value of your investment is eroded away by that pesky, or more appropriately, silent killer, as we call it, called inflation. So that avoidance behavior of not being able to make a decision based upon outside forces, whether the market's doing poorly or you just haven't defined your objective, for an extended amount of time can be really detrimental to somebody. So there's that fine line, is that you don't want to rush into a decision, but you don't want to avoid a decision and have your money sit in effectively accounts or such that aren't achieving any interest.
Right. So step one, just get educated. You are somebody now that has money. You need to know, at least at a high level, what options you have, right? And then it sounds like if your decision will be to, I don't know what to do and I don't want to face it right now, I'm going to put it into cash, you're going to actually lose money over time because inflation will erode at a faster rate, or inflation will go up typically historically at a faster rate than your savings account is, which means we call that losing buying power, which means your dollar gets less and less valuable over time. So really our advice is probably don't do that unless for some reason that goal really ties into losing buying power over time.
To quantify that, inflation is historical average of 2.5% to 3% per year historically.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? So in other words, $1 million comes into your account and that money is not invested in something that's beating inflation, then over a 10-year time, even though you haven't lost a dime,
Yep.
you know, in a dollar amount, $1 million 10 years at a 3% clip of inflation is worth roughly $700,000 in terms of buying power, in terms of purchasing power. So, and then you could say, well, 10 years is a long time, but it's funny how if you avoid making a decision,
Yep.
a lot of time goes by.
Right.
A lot of time can go by. You focus on other things, and you really miss out on that really, really advantageous runway or time period to have success.
So that with the proper investment strategy, the opportunities that can be presented to you in that same decade will be so much bigger. You can impact so many more people, so many more missions, whatever's important to you, your families, your generations, whatever the case is, you can do that a whole lot better if you get that money working today versus waiting to decide how I want to use that money once I figure out
That's a
goal
great
with it.
point because we work with clients of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
Right? So we work with folks that are just starting out. We work with folks that are multimillionaires. And to your point, there's folks that we've had sold a business, signing bonuses, what have you. That's enough money for them, if they want to use your term, to sit in the rocking chair on the front porch for the rest of their life and be fine. But for most of the folks that we work with, life is a little bit more, or is about a little bit more than just that. Achieving it is philanthropic or charitable goals. It is supporting, your local church, as you said. It is making a difference with your family's life, with your some of the causes that are near and dear to you. So making your money work hard goes a lot further than just solely on your own personal retirement goals, for sure.
So, that's kind of our biggest takeaway, I would say, is that you need to define a goal. You need to get educated. This book can help you get educated. Some of our material is our hope to educate you on this stuff. And then pay attention, care. I would say that too many people just don't care about what their money's doing because it's something like a 401k, a retirement account, that I will address that when I need it.
I get a great term. Ask why.
There you
right?
go.
Meet with a financial professional. Meet with a real estate professional. Meet with somebody in and around the financial, a CPA.
Yeah.
And when folks provide recommendations or ideas, ask why. Understand why that's important. In terms of whatever that objective is.
Yeah, how does that line up?
How does that line up with my financial goals? How does that line up with my ability to go back to doing the types of things that I endeavor to do with my money years down the road?
Yeah, and I will say, if it doesn't make sense to you, this investing industry makes it out to be really convoluted and confusing. It doesn't need to be. If after you ask why, if you just can't understand how that actually works, like you can't logically put that together in your head, I'm going to say that's probably not the right investment strategy for you. So make sure, if it makes sense, that yes, okay, I'll move forward. Or if it doesn't, I think too many people say, they know what they're talking about. I'll just trust them. Like, trust is important, but you have to understand why yourself. It's your money. So
yeah,
I think that covered it pretty good.
Yeah.
Anything else you think about?
I think that just makes me think about something that we are always doing a lot of thinking and a lot of work on is why we do what we do.
Yeah.
Right? And that aligns a lot with the book that we shared, Dancing with the Analysts, is that our role as we see it as financial advisors is more than anything else. Yes, we are We have expertise in the investment world, and we have expertise in helping you plan. But at the end of the day, aligned with the same topics that we've talked about so far today, it is really a lot deeper in terms of helping people become better.
Yeah, like a coach.
A coach.
Yeah, so you should seek out, if you are somebody that comes into money, seek out a coach, a financial coach. I mean,
and do some research in terms of finding that right type of person. Find out what they're doing in particular to become better experts and become better coaches. You go to my gym, a CrossFit gym, downtown Boston or in Medfield. You see a group of individuals that are constantly and consistently honing their craft in terms of getting better at learning about nutrition, so they can impart that to all of the clients at that gym.
Yeah, it's a good
They're getting better at things like mobility and flexibility that go into obviously a big part of being fit.
You should probably talk to those people more.
Yeah, I need to talk to those people more.
But you're right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to go stretch right now.
Okay. Well, anyway, look, our goal here is to just help you gain some clarity to say, okay, I feel confident in these decisions I'm making financially. Mm-hmm. I don't need to know how to pull the what levers to make that money go, but I do know enough now, after listening, reading our material, listening to this stuff, I do know what to look out for, so that basically to put it bluntly, basically I'm not getting screwed. I know what I'm doing. I know the people I'm picking know what they're doing, and I know that because I educated myself on how this world works. So that's our overall goal with this whole thing. If you like it, subscribe, share, rate us. These 5-star ratings and the reviews help. Obviously, we want honest feedback because we're trying to do this legitimately and honestly. So
engage with us. Send topics.
Yeah,
send topics that you want us to talk about.
Yep.
Matt said it before. I said that our industry does a very, very good job at making sometimes very simple concepts very complex.
Yeah.
Email us at social@BeckBodie again, or direct message us on Instagram @BeckBodie for a copy of the book. It is something that, no question, will help you understand the financial world. And it doesn't matter if you have $1 or $10 million or somewhere in between. It will really help simplify the decision-making process for you, because you have that greater understanding of how the world works, and it's a little bit different than what the establishment,
for sure,
essentially puts out there for us to drink every day, so to speak. So,
or you can follow us if you want to get to know us, who we are as people, because we both post personal stuff and professional stuff on our Instagrams. Follow me at Matt Maurizio, MattMorizio, at
bbeck3333, and also our other guy, co-founder Jim Bodie, who is new to Instagram but very, very active on it, at jbodie71.
Yep,
I'm pretty sure.
Yep, it definitely is.
Just looks like a big, strong football player.
Yep, he's got at least 2 posts, I think. So
yeah, at least 2. Yeah, a lot of volume.
Yeah. No, thank you guys. Thank you for listening.